All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of the Blindside Blitz. I'm Jim McPhee. I am back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a few weeks. I know y'all missed me. I know you guys did. I'm doing something different with my hair now. Yeah, so I feel bad for anybody that's listening to the audio podcast right now because you can't witness what this is right now. But I'm trying some different stuff. Maybe I'm going through a midlife crisis right now. Maybe. But I am here, and there, of course, is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Blitz Nation? Welcome back, baby. And we here on New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's to everybody out there as we get closer and the clock keeps ticking down, waiting for the ball to drop. But before we get into the new year, help us out. Help us grow this amazing channel that we've developed at Grumblings Media on the YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you share it. Comment down below because it's all about interaction here. And of course, you can also find out we got more articles. We got other podcasts that we do. Grumblingsmedia.com. Head over there. You can check all of that out there. Rumble.com. You can also drop a follow there for us as well. Become part of the Blitz Nation. And anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Pandora, it's all there. Make sure you follow us.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. Absolutely. It's been exciting a couple of weeks, that we haven't been together here in the NFL. It gets crazier week to week.
Yeah.
But Giants happen to screw up, getting the first overall pick right now, though, too, and they go out and get a win. Embarrassing.
True.
Last week. It was tough. It's one of those things you're conflicted because you're a fan. You've been losing so many weeks now, and this is the week you decide to win here. I mean, and put up like 45 points. I'm like,
they did a good job. They did a good job to get that win or whatever. However, I do have to, give some caution to the fan base that is the Giants and just say, be careful what you wish for, because you might have escaped a bullet. Now, we don't know that for sure, but as we get closer to the draft, and you got to tune in right here for the close draft coverage, we're going to give you guys everything. We're going to scout for you. We're going to break down all the prospects coming into the draft and give you our honest opinion of who we think every team should be taking. But this might not be a bad thing for the Giants. I know there's a lot of upset Giants fans, but I'll tell you right now, from what I've seen so far, there's not a quarterback worth that high pick anyway. So I know they're upset. I know you guys want a quarterback. I know you need one, but let's wait and see how this thing all shakes out in the end.
Right. In this draft, it might not hurt you as much too as once you slip a spot here and there.
That's right.
All right. So coming into that now, the big, story going on right now is Saquon Barkley. He's about to eclipse Eric Dickerson's record here, possibly. Dickerson holds the record for the most rushing yards in a season at 2,105, which he beat O.J. Simpson out. And O.J. Simpson ended up having the record in 14 game season.
Right.
And Dickerson beat it in his 15th game. So we're going to witness the same type of thing here, because the thing is with these records, they're getting beaten by guys who are having an extended season now. And that's what I think is kind of interesting and kind of an asterisk to it all. Because overall, when you look at this whole thing, I think that O.J. Simpson still got to be the rushing king in a sense, because he did it in 14 games. No one else has been able to beat that feat, I think, to that extent.
Right.
So, and now a record that's held for 40 years now, I think they said, something like that, with Dickerson's and from back in 1984, possibly here by Saquon Barkley. So now in week 18, his 17th game, has the opportunity to break the record here. Just needs 101 rushing yards to break it, 100 to tie as he sits at 2005. So, Joe, the question is now here, and I think they even asked, the head coach last week, and they asked a bunch of different coaches out there too. Are you starting Saquon? You sitting? What are you doing next week? How much are you resting players?
Well, real quick, I want to just say OJ still is the all-time rushing king. For a season,
right?
I like that. That's just what it is, because he did it in 14 games. Now, Eric Dickerson did it in 16. And people are like, wait, hold on a second. 16 games. Wait, did they have bye weeks?
16, but yeah.
Did they have bye weeks? No, they actually didn't have bye weeks in 1984. So he played all 16 games, no bye weeks. Now, from the NFL website, they said NFL bye weeks have featured in every season since 1990, having been removed originally back in 1966. The bye weeks were added to extend the regular season to 17 weeks and to allow for more games to be televised. So that was the whole news out there. Now, 1990 obviously happened after 1984. So we haven't seen the bye week thing come into play until now. We're starting to, these players are starting, now they're having more chances, a couple more games to play, and an even greater chance to break these all-time records, which it has to be, like you just said, it has to be an asterisk to it. And it's unfortunate because it is a great achievement to get there. However, Saquon Barkley is going to do it if he plays it with more games. You know, you have 17 weeks to play. So my thing is it might be all in 16 games, but at the same time, do you play him for this all-time great record? I think you do, because it is such a, you will etch your name in the books, in the record books, and you'll be talked about for ages as long as this record holds. So look at Eric Dickerson, how much that's done for him. His name has been etched in stone for quite some time, since 1984.
Yep.
And now we're on the brink of Barkley possibly breaking it. Now I get it. He's right there with them and all that. But going into this last week's game, I think you have to play him just because it's such a great record. It's a all-time record. This isn't just, something that, it's nice. You got a milestone. This is something that people will talk for ages about.
Right. And I'm conflicted on a bunch of different ways on this one, because again, I don't want him to play because again, you know that he plays the Giants and they're 22nd, I think, in yards given up by the run. So he's going to probably get that 100 yards rushing, against them. But that opens a lot of different things up. Then you're starting probably offensive linemen because you don't get those rushing yards without having that O-line start either. So you put it back up as in there, then you're limited to some of that. And you're obviously, yes, you risk injury every season, every game. You do in this one, especially here, for something that doesn't really matter because you're already going into the playoffs. And that's a real big question here that we're really facing in this whole thing. Because yes, I understand you want to go for the record, but at what's the cost? Because again, what does it mean outside of things for the team? You're looking at a record outside of the team. It's just an individual thing. And a lot of teams you break down to it that say, hey, individuals don't matter. It's about the team. But we have on the other turn seen teams to where, hey, which kind of force the ball to this guy, which make sure he kind of gets that record or gets this kind of this milestone
that
quick
extra
for
touchdown.
Him. But to get this milestone, I think it just entails a lot of different moving pieces here. Do they then just say, hey, let's get the starting front for the first half? If we get it in the first half, then we're taking everybody out. Second half, once he achieves it, that's probably the way to go. Yeah. But do they risk it? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing is you can risk anytime you step on the football field, you risk injury.
That.
You know what I mean? Like, I know you get that, but like, that's really what it is. This isn't just a, if he eclipses this, he gets a bonus for, if he gets this, he gets a bonus for payment. It's nothing like that. And you're talking about Saquon Barkley, who is the most unselfish player, on that team. Like, this guy literally sat down one game and Nick Sirianni came over to him like, hey, you could break your rushing record in this game, if you go back out there. And he was like, no, let the young guys do it. Let the young guys run. Let them play. So, like, you're talking about a guy who's very unselfish, who never looks for records. He really doesn't. He's just that good. And now you're on the brink of possibly breaking a all-time NFL history type of record. It's such a special thing that if he really wants it, go and get it. And then as soon as he gets it, then you can just bench everybody. But if it's going to be a thing where you're like, well, it'd be nice to get it, but at the same time, I'm more looking towards the playoffs. Do they sit him down too? So like for me personally, I want Barkley, if I'm Nick Sirianni, I want Barkley to get this record. I want it for himself. I want it for the legacy that he has so far with, in the NFL. The guy's such a amazing player, person, and you like to see those guys win. So I'm putting him out there and getting it. As soon as I get it, then I'm benching him.
I don't know. If I'm Saquon, I'm not doing it. I'm not playing. I'm kind of doing it out of respect, I think, for the game and for Dickerson, and because it's an extra game, and you're gonna maybe take it or we're not. I think if he does play, it's a shot against the Giants. He wants to break the record. It wasn't like, let's let the young guys play. Let's do that. I think he wanted to try and break the record against the Giants to show something. I don't think he's as non-selfish as people think he is and whatever. I think he still holds a grudge that the Giants didn't re-sign him, that he ended up going to the Eagles. He went to the Eagles, the rival of the Giants. You can't tell me that wasn't part of his decision, that they are the rivals even too. Yes, they probably paid the most too as well, but come on. This thing that Saquon Barkley is just the nicest guy or whatever, and this that I don't think so.
Absolutely,
no, because he obviously sees. He said it. He goes, oh, I know what it's. I know I'm going to get the credit for winning and getting this award or whatever. But there's a lot of offensive line that helps me get to that, but I'm going to get the credit for that. So he notices that, and he knows who he's going to be doing it against. That's what he's trying to do. So I think that he's going to be playing, really, even though I think it's a bad idea. I wouldn't. And if I'm Saquon, I would say, as a nod to Eric Dickerson, and because I get extra games to beat this, I didn't do it in the same amount of allotted time that he was given. I didn't do it. So
you
there
can
it
see
is.
It that way for sure.
And I get you, because the media is going to stretch it out there. If Saquon takes it, oh, here we go. Here's the record now, the highest leading rusher, blah, 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 into the next one. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, if he does, his reign will be a lot shorter than what Eric Dickerson's is. Just to the fact that the league is pressing for an 18-game season easily, quickly, soon. So we're looking into it already right now that in the next couple of years, 18 weeks, but not 18 games.
No, they won't do 18 games.
They will, and they're going to. That's what they keep looking into, Joe. And that's why they keep asking about getting it maybe another bye week to makes it a 20-week season. And this is why I think if he does take it, that it's going to be short-lived.
No, like my thing is, okay, so if you add another bye week, that's just another game you're not playing. So you're still technically playing the same amount of games.
No, add another bye week, but you're adding the extra game on top of it, which makes it a 20-week season.
Oh, I don't think they'll do 20 weeks.
I think that's what they're going to do. Well, then at least they're going to make it 19 weeks and add that other game. They're looking for another game.
So you'll 18. So you're still going to be playing 18, but you'll have 19 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So like you're still.
So I think that giving that extra game, somebody is going to break this record sooner than what Saquon had just done.
You could see that, but you still have to have an amazing season to even come close to it. Like it's not something that is so easily attainable. If it was, it would have been done. It would have been done in 1986, but it wasn't. Like
how many times have we seen these receiving records and stuff broken just because we've gone to this added extra 17th game in the last 2 years, 3 years?
Oh, it hasn't.
It's been established. What, 2021? The new extended season.
Yes,
and we've seen some of these records getting demolished.
Right, but that's because the philosophy is no longer running the football anymore. It's passing. It's high.
I think this year has been
high level passing for the seasons that since then. It's been evolving into pass first, run next. In these offense, that's why you have more talent being concentrated at the receiver position, at the quarterback position, at the O-line position, because they want to throw the ball more often. They want to rack up those stats that way. So in a sense, the game has changed too. There is no like, oh, we're going to ground and pound, and then if we have to, we're going to throw the football, because that used to be the idea back in the 80s, back in the 90s. That was what they used to do. And then they started to evolve into a balanced offense. Now we're into it's pass, baby. We're airing this thing out. We're trying to rack up as many points every single week. So it's like for Saquon Barkley to achieve what he achieved. I understand there's more games,
Mm-hmm.
but it is amazing for him to even come close. Because in this era of airing it out, the Eagles this year, since they got Saquon, they've been running more because he's been such a workhorse for them, because they can rely on him to continue to move the ball down the football field and keep drives alive, that he's been so exceptionally good this season that he's been able to even come close to this record. Now, like I said, this is an era that's different than what it was. So I understand that because there's an extra game that, okay, you can put an asterisk on it, even if he does, even if they decide to play him until he gets it, whatever the case may be. If he does, in fact, so-called break the record, all real NFL heads already know that O.J. Simpson still is the originator, still is the guy that did it with 14 games before Eric Dickerson did it in 16. So really, shouldn't going forward for all these milestones, shouldn't it be you have to break these records within the game allotted by the predecessor?
Right. I mean, because that's the thing. It's like when you hear this narrative, ever since I've been born, or at least, following football, because obviously I was born in 77. This was broken in 84. Eric Dickerson was the rushing leader. And then when you do your research, you're like, oh, he even had 2 more games, but he did break it in that 15th game is when he actually broke the record. So he did have that extra time. There should be something to that. It should be, again, not even just maybe an asterisk, but even just the fact that, say, if you don't beat it within this time, then are you truly the rushing leader? Because it's a different stat line than, say, what baseball is even doing with what they do with their batting averages and home runs and blah blah blah. And this they don't change as much as what the NFL is constantly doing.
Yeah, there's too much changes for sure in the NFL with rules,
right?
With the way the football's changed, even X's and O's wise. It's not so much heavy run.
Yeah, because even what do we even do when you talk about sacks? Because sacks weren't even tracked until 1963. So some of those guys that came before, how many sacks did they?
We don't know.
Have? We don't know.
They weren't recorded, so we don't
know. Is like T.J. Watt, Michael Strahan, sack leaders of all time right now. So, yeah, I mean, so I think you sit them, you rest, because you're looking for playoffs. You're looking for the bigger goal.
You want to win the championship.
You want to win.
Get it.
Yeah. And to put him out to try and get a single goal for himself, okay, go ahead. But if you're trotting out Tanner McGee, I think the Giants are just teeing up like, all right,
Kenny Pickett will be out there.
Well, Kenny Pickett is healthy enough to play, so it's not going to be McKee again.
Yep.
But either way, they got to try. They're going to say we need to stop the run. We're focusing solely on this. Okay.
I mean, that's what the Giants should be doing.
They should be anyways. I get that. But right. I mean, what do you do if you trot him out there? Then he's playing, he's getting banged up, he's getting stuffed. Then do the Sirianni all of a sudden and say, tuck his legs, tuck his legs up, or, it'd be like, all right, you know what? We'll shut him down. He's not going to get it. We'll just pull him out. And we'll put our back.
It's a fluid situation for sure. But I'm saying but
how does that look? And what's your narrative then? Saquon goes for the rushing title, but can't get it done against his old team.
So what?
Who wants? Well, that's a bigger headline.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't,
because you this whole thing they're painting it out. Saquon gets the record. I get it, but it's his former team, that extra knife, the dagger in the back. Now, if the Giants do stuff him in this, that turns the other way, and you have the headline being Giants stuff Saquon and stop him from getting that record.
Okay, but I still don't see how that is a bigger headline at all, because Saquon Barkley, regardless of the team he was facing at the end, this week,
had a great season. I get it.
My thing is it's nothing at this point. All those harsh feelings are gone from his time with the Giants. He's more focused on now winning and trying to get a Super Bowl and all that. I don't think just because if he was to play and we'll just say he breaks the record against the Giants, I don't see it ever being a thing where like he's just going to come out and just basically talk bad about the Giants or anything like that. That's just not in his mindset right now. Like, so I know maybe the Giants fans and maybe the Giants themselves are thinking that way, but I don't think it matters. I think it matters more for the Giants than it does for Saquon Barkley in that aspect.
Well, it will be interesting because the game being in Philadelphia, I know those fans will not be very welcoming.
Don't wear a Giants jersey.
So, yeah. So, all right. So there you go. Saquon, Willie, or won't he? I think Joe and I disagree on this one, as you can see. But who knows? We shall find out and see if he can break the record or not. All right. Next up, the Jets. Here we go. They can't even get off the tarmac, Joe. The Jets. This is how bad they were. I mean, I couldn't have been more wrong about a team. I think. If anything, if you talk about predictions for a season,
right?
I predicted Aaron Rodgers to have his best season, and be the best quarterback here, get his yards back, because you see the weapons, even you see the youth that he had, the defense. You didn't have to do a whole lot. It's not like even he's playing really bad. Sometimes some of the games he's had some low QBR or whatever.
A lot of times
getting a lot, but it's not like he's the reason that they're losing.
No,
they are undisciplined. The defense is just giving up plays, and the offense just turnovers again, nonstop, and bonehead moves. The Garrett Wilson fumble, even in this last game, an embarrassment. That offensive line is still putrid.
That right there is what the problem is. Is the O-line. They listen, and it's not from lack of trying. They brought in a few different free agents to kind of shore up that offensive line, along with guys like Elijah Vera Tucker. They brought in freaking old man Tyron Smith from the Cowboys, and they even drafted Olu Fashanu, who hopefully is going to be the future tackle there. But Olu went down with an injury, was done for the rest of the year. Tyron Smith has been banged up. That whole offensive line's been banged up to the point where they're struggling. And honestly, when you bring in offensive linemen, what do they do the best? A lot of these free agent guys like John Simpson, they run block. They're really good run block offensive linemen. Not the greatest at pass blocking. When you brought Aaron Rodgers, who's now healthy for the beginning of the year, and you brought in guys that could really run block well, but not so much pass block. And it's more evident all season. You've seen it. Jets fans, you've seen it out there where sometimes there was pressure almost like every other snap where Rodgers could never set his feet, was always trying to create space and get rid of the football or make a play happen. And sometimes, that turned into a turnover. But do you really blame Rodgers for that? Sometimes it's not just that. It's the protection was so lousy for the Jets throughout the whole entire year. But everybody was still pointing their finger at Rodgers and saying, oh, he's the problem. It's not. Right. Listen, he was supposed to be your savior. This season for the Jets was supposed to be so much better. The hype train was going crazy. We jumped on the hype train. We had to eat crow after this season about the Jets. We hyped them up just like anybody else and said, oh, there's no way this team isn't competitive. Well, guess what? Just because you bring in free agents, just because you bring in Aaron Rodgers, just because you even trade for Devontae Adams doesn't equal winning. It's building your team from the ground up through the draft mostly. And at certain spots you bring in different free agents to kind of speed up that process. That's what the Jets try to do, but they just made the wrong decisions doing it. And that's why they are where they are right now. And going forward, Jim, reports are Rex Ryan and freaking Ron Rivera are going to take head coaching interviews this week.
Yes.
Why
they never
on earth would you fired Rex Ryan, who was probably a decent head coach for the Jets. You fired him, even though he was doing an admirable job. Now you're going to bring him back after years of being out of the NFL, being years out of coaching. And you're going to bring him in for an interview to take a job with the Jets and Ron Rivera likewise, who's both are retreads at this point. This is the reason why the Jets organization will continue to be a bad organization, because you're going backwards.
Yeah, and you fired Robert Saleh a little prematurely, you think, right? When he was still the head. Well, that's what I'm saying. You were there. The defense was, they had some penalties here and there. I get that. They were beating themselves, but they were competitive. That defense kind of looked like a Robert Saleh defense. They were playing hard. Since then, Ulbrich doesn't have any control of these guys at all. Sauce Gardner is just like, people are quitting in already. They've already checked out. They packed their bags ready to go. And it's just, again, they're not even covering at all. They're not even trying. And it's ridiculous. The defense is terrible now. So you had that before. You just need to try and right the ship in the offense. And they're playing an archaic offense, an old school thing that maybe Rodgers has finally got to get out of his head and say, listen, the NFL's changing. Maybe, and hey, I'm one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I'm smart enough to learn a new offense. It doesn't always have to be my way. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's change things up. Let's try and win. Let's be selfless instead of selfish for once. And let's get it done and win. And no, you fire Robert Saleh. He's gone. Ulbrich sucks. And the way to fix your offense right now, let's go look at Rex Ryan, who is a defensive-minded coach again, and Ron Rivera, who is a defensive-minded coach again. Yeah. So what are you changing with the offense?
Not to mention, you bring up a couple players unhappy. We don't know. There's been rumors that Rodgers is done with the Jets. It sounds like, anyway, from the outside looking in, it sounds like the Jets are going to cut him, and he's going to be a free agent. And what does that mean for Devontae, who just got traded there? You know, he's going to be looking to get out of there too. His boy Rodgers is gone now. And then on top of all of that, Garrett Wilson, the young stud at wide receiver for the Jets, is even contemplating on asking for a trade. This season was so bad for the Jets that even Jets players are looking for a way out. So, yeah, I mean, it's a rough one in New York.
That means that they don't even see a future there. And what's funny too is he's begging for the football, saying, "Hey, I don't know why they don't throw me the ball," but again, coughs up the ball with a fumble in this past game though too. But again, you're going to trade for Garrett Wilson. What's the worth? You know, what are you going to get for him? You know, right now, I think he could be a great addition to another team. Absolutely. But what's the compensation?
I mean, you're going to get decent compensation for him. He's still young in his prime, still a really good receiver. Honestly, like I view Garrett Wilson a tick better than Njigba with Seattle Seahawks. I think Garrett Wilson is better receiver than him. I think you could get a third-round pick for him.
Perhaps, but I feel like Smith and Njigba, you see a lot more positive right now. Maybe just because he's actually getting opportunities.
Only because of production.
The ball,
because he's getting more opportunities.
But yeah, I mean, because if you look at it too right now, I think Njigba, it's night and day. You know what I mean? He's getting the opportunities.
Yeah, he
looks good.
He's getting the opportunities, but Wilson to me is just a way better wide receiver. Way more dynamic.
I just think we have yet to see it.
Better. Yeah. But you have seen it though. You have seen it in flashes with this team. When the Jets look good on offense, Wilson and Devontae's older, but he's still getting it done. But then Wilson has shown immense, look at the highlight play that he had. The crazy one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. There's other catches, and he gets open by a wide margin so easily because he runs one of the best routes in football. So you could command a third-round pick for him and get it easily, because I'll tell you right now, wide receiver needy teams will pay that easily just to acquire his services. So it's not like there's going to be any shortage of interest for Garrett Wilson. It's whether the Jets are willing to let him go. And I don't think that's the case. I think that they drafted him for a reason. They're going to try to continue to build, but there's a lot of unhappy players in New York right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the Jets, big disappointment. It gets worse. They get blown out like 40 to 14, I think it was. And what's funny is too, the headline going into the game is, well, who's going to catch, Aaron Rodgers' 500th, touchdown, right. You know what I mean? Yeah. He doesn't even get one. He's got 2 INTs, no touchdowns, nothing. No. So it's like, Nobody.
No.
Yeah, like, is even Aaron Rodgers going to hit 500 this season?
And did you know that Devontae played, even though Devontae's banged up, Devontae played to try to catch that 500th touchdown.
Yeah.
Not happening.
No.
We'll see this week.
That's right. We'll see. And absolutely. So if you guys haven't yet, we've talked about it a bunch of different times. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Just go to YouTube and search up Grumblings Media. And there you go. We're right there. Hit the subscribe button. If you're lazy, like a lot of people out there, sometimes I am. I like the QR codes. There's a QR code right there. So if you can scan the QR code, takes you right there. Hit the subscribe button. You're good to go. So make sure you guys join in on the fun. Become part of the Blitz Nation. All right, Joe. A lot of headlines going on right now, but something you were talking about different coaching changes and stuff like that. I know there's guys that are probably going to get fired after the last game of the season because some
Doug Peterson
owners, things like that. Yeah, they don't want to go mid-season firings and blah blah blah. But Black Monday's coming.
Antonio Pierce,
it's going to be coming. Antonio Pierce, that's part of it too. We'll get to that in a little bit. But we're hearing now Pete Carroll all of a sudden comes out and says, "Hey man, I'm interested in coaching anybody out there. I've got the itch." After 1 year off as a consultant for the Seahawks
advisor.
Yes, he's ready to come back. He's showing interest now in coaching in 2025.
Yep.
And right there at the door is knocking and say, "Hey, it's the Chicago Bears. Maybe. Hey, we might be interested. Do you think you can help Caleb Williams out here?"
He's definitely interested for sure. A year removed from the head coaching position. Here's the thing that you got to take into account though too about Pete Carroll. He's 73 years old. He's had the positive is that he's nearly 40 years of NFL experience, almost 50 years of football experience. And his head coaching record all time has been 181 wins and 131 losses and 1 tie.
Right.
Now,
I think he's one of the few coaches that has a college championship and an NFL Super Bowl championship too as well.
But here's the problem is by hiring a guy who is that much older at 73 and the rigors and the stress that comes with the head coaching job. How long does Pete Carroll plan on coaching for? Like we've kind of debated this about Bill Belichick and whether he was going to come back into the ranks or not. And we already know that the answer to that. He took a job with North Carolina to go coach college football, which is all fine, but that's because the NFL teams stopped calling. The NFL teams are not interested in a 70-plus-year-old head coach and a guy who wanted all the power. Too, on top of it all. Pete Carroll is not like that. Pete Carroll doesn't want all the power. Pete Carroll just wants to be the head coach. But again, this is going to be kind of like a short-term contract with any team that decides to maybe bring him in. Is it going to be a 3-year deal and you're going to wait and see what happens after that? Is he going to retire after 2 years? Like, there's a lot of question marks when you get up to that age. And I know he misses it because he misses the camaraderie and the guys and, the locker room and all that.
His chewing gum out everywhere.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, will a team even want Pete Carroll at this point? You had a year as an advisor for the Seattle Seahawks. There's a lot of other younger coaches that are going to be, their names are going to be stirred up and they're going to be stirred in the pot this offseason. And teams that fire their coaches are going to be looking for those guys, I feel like, first before Pete Carroll even gets a nod.
Yeah, I think you're gonna, because that's what everybody kind of is always looking for, right? Who's the next up and coming? Who's the next fresh face?
Or at least not the Jets, though.
And
not the Jets.
Except for the Jets. They're like, good. So who's the oldest rehash? Let's go back to what we did before, the person that we fired before when we were actually making the playoffs. When we had Mark Sanchez and the butt fumble, and maybe that was part of the issue. But again, back then was even offensive line. So some teams just can't get out of their own way. They have the same issues just over and over again. But Pete Carroll, I think he could possibly do something here. But again, Joe, like why? Like what's the point here? I understand you maybe got those juices flowing a year off. Right. You still see it. You want to get back into it. Yeah. And Pete Carroll, even though for being as old as he is, he still kind of gets relatable to the guys. He's that kind of like, hey, up out there. And
He's like
he's the hip grandpa.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
That's with everybody.
That's what I was gonna say.
And he still kind of gets that locker room, I think, going with some people.
For sure. He's got energy, but that's for sure.
It sounds good, but I would still avoid it, I guess. And at this point, but I do understand where it's coming from, because if you're Chicago, you've already tried the new up and coming or somebody fresh a couple times, and it didn't really work for you. But I think if they find the right offensive minded coach, it will work out for them. But who is that guy? I know there's
a lot of candidates out there.
There's a lot of candidates out there. I know Mike Vrabel's name is really popping out with a lot of different teams. I've heard about him.
A lot of people are saying
different teams, and especially
a lot of people are saying that Mike Vrabel is going to be the number one target for anybody looking for a head coach this year.
Right.
And it makes sense.
It does. Absolutely. You know, again, a former defensive player, but he also teaches discipline, knows the game, gets along with the players, but then also, again, has had a success.
More than that, it's not just about, he gets along with the players. He's a former player. He understands the rigors of playing in the NFL and all that, and he can relate. But at the same time, look at his stance in Tennessee on how he outcoached the greatest coach we've ever seen in front of us in Bill Belichick, and has beaten Bill at his own game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who's not just strategically smart, but also a guy who does an incredible job of helping the team game plan, and in-game decision-making is off the charts.
Yeah.
So that's why Mike Vrabel's name has popped up immensely over the last couple of weeks, and it's going to continue to do so as we get closer to where coaches get fired.
Is funny,
and more interviews
I think
occur.
it's funny that Tennessee let him leave the building. Like, I don't know why.
They fired him.
Yeah.
They fired him. It's the dumbest freaking decision.
We don't know. That was mind blowing, and the fact that he didn't get picked up by anybody too. I think everything was just crazy. I think he had to been the hottest guy on the market. I would have grabbed him. Like, if I'm like I told you, I think even before, if look at previous shows, I would fire Brian Daboll today and go get Mike Vrabel. Let's go do it. I'm excited about that.
The interesting part of that you bring up about the Giants is that rumor is that Joel Shane and Brian Daboll are not tied together. So it's not like if they fire one, they're going to fire the other. They might fire just one of them, or maybe they don't fire either one of them, but the jury's out on that one too.
Yeah. And the funny thing about that game, and I don't know, it's just because I'm a Giants fan, I watch it from a different lens than when you watch it from.
Right.
But as I'm watching the game, obviously I didn't want them to win,
Of course. I get it.
Which is kind of weird again, because everyone's
from a fan standpoint.
My wife kills me all the time because, again, we're doing our picks competition. I had every game right except for that one, Joe.
Yeah.
The one game, and it's the Giants game. She goes, "You didn't pick your own team?" I'm like, "No. Why would I do it? They suck. They've been terrible all season. Why would I?" But it seems like the coaching and some of the plays that were called and things that they were doing within the game were trying to lose the game, but the players weren't allowing it to happen because they were playing to win. Listen, you know what I mean? Certain plays and what they're doing in schemes, especially running like 3 times in a row in certain situations. I'm like, what are they doing here? Like, this is not the right play call for this opportunity right here. It's like they're actively trying to lose.
No,
but then the players won't allow that to happen because the players are competitors. They compete. They want to win. So it's almost like the players outperformed what the coaches were kind of wanting to do, out-schemed what the coaches were doing because they are competitors. And they always want to win.
I absolutely not. Like, coaches are trying to keep their jobs. They're not trying to lose. Like, it might look like it to some fans out there based on in-game plays that they pick to do or whatever. But coaches aren't trying to lose. Like, the whole tanking thing that has been a trend lately. Oh, we got to tank for a higher pick. This and anything. That doesn't happen.
I know you and Big John had an episode about this.
Coaches and players do not tank and try to lose just to get a higher pick. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I know fans want to believe that and oh, well, we suck. Yeah, because your team sucks.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you have the record you do. That's why the Raiders are freaking losing team. That's why the Jaguars are, you know what I mean? And the Patriots and so on and so forth. It's not because they're trying to lose. It's because they're just that bad. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. But again, like at times it just seems like, I don't know. It looked like I'm like, man, why is it that play call? But then all of a sudden Malik Neighbors breaking off big runs after catching everything too. Little bright spots. So at least, good thing about this season, Malik Neighbors, we've got a good wide receiver here for the team. So
and Drew Lock is your starter next year. Got it.
God, please, God, no. Oh man. But he is kind of what we had hoped he would be. Like, hey, he's a filler in. He can do what he can.
He definitely played better in that outing.
I still think the surprise for me is how much of a big baby Daniel Jones was after the whole situation. I think of Daniel Jones, he was given opportunity. He got another contract, didn't fulfill it. And then once he's benched, he's like, I want out.
Dude, would you honestly, come on. I don't think it's a baby thing. I think it's a guy.
Dude, you lost
it's
the
a
game.
guy that wants to play, a guy that wants to start somewhere.
On, man. You lost it.
You're not going to sit there and freaking wither away.
Play better.
No,
play better.
You're not going to sit there and wither away. You want a different opportunity. I'm not going to sit behind you.
But you're on the practice squad for the Vikings.
Bro,
right
that was absolute disrespect to Daniel Jones. You don't play your quarterback as a backup to go, hey, we need you to go play safety for us. No, screw you guys. Get me out of here. Trade me. If you guys don't want me to be here and you're just going to use me as some kind of freaking toy, get me out of here. I want to go to a different situation where I have at least maybe a chance to where I could be a backup, possibly a starter down the road.
Hey, the 49ers had said that if worst case, if even Brock Purdy or their backups go down, that Nick Bosa could play quarterback for them. So these guys will, and he's played, so that they can do that. They said they have that eligibility. So you never know with some of these players.
No, cannot.
Extra. I would have loved to see that though. How about that?
Yo, Nick Bosa, stiff arm and D lineman.
Oh my gosh, dude! I want to see. You want to talk about different plays and what people do? All of a sudden, line Nick Bosa up in offense on a wildcat. What do you do? Like, what
you tackle him?
What do you think
Just
that
stick
is?
his feet out.
Like, is he gonna get the ball? Actually,
he's not.
Like, what is he doing?
He's very uncustomary to the position, so I'm pretty sure you could take him right off his feet.
What you say, but then what they're saying in practice, like he's thrown. And
they can say a lot of things in practice, like Jesus. The Raiders or any other team, let's say Green Bay Packers, their third string quarterback, they'd be like, oh, you have no idea what this guy can do. He just hasn't given his opportunity yet. Anybody can say anything, dude. I don't believe it until you actually see it on the football field. Come on.
All right.
Bosa, quarterback.
So here we go. We've gotten to a lot of different things. It's almost an hour in already, Joe. We're rocking and rolling. We have a lot to get to. But Joe, the pick six is back. You came up with a pick six this week.
I did.
So here it is, the pick six. There's Deion Sanders. All right. You came up with your pick six of what? What is it? Top
pick six, most valuable quarterbacks for 2024.
All right. So we'll get back at 2024.
Just so everybody knows, this is most valuable. This has nothing to do with best quarterback.
Count end of last season to the postseason of last season, or
2024.
24.
No, it's just 2024 the season.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let me try and take a guess. Now you have six quarterbacks. Huh?
I have six, Jim. And let's see. I'll give you
valuable.
Hold on. I'll give you eight
guesses.
8 guesses on the six that are on the list.
So I got a chance to miss 2. Okay. I'm gonna say Josh Allen.
Yes, he's on the list.
Ding, ding, ding. Number 1. All right, I got one. No, not number 1, but I got one. All right, good.
That's
all right,
that's
so
one.
All right, so he's on the list. So what? You tell me why. Tell me why. What do you got on there?
Look at the title: most valuable quarterback of this year, which means he's the most valuable to his team. You look at this Bills offense early in the season; they were struggling. But the only bright spot, and they didn't have a number 1 receiver at the time. They had Keon Coleman, a rookie wide receiver, trying to figure out his own way. They had Khalil Shakir, who was the kind of go-to guy. Dalton Kincaid, obviously, at tight end and so forth. They had weapons, but they were struggling on offense. But Josh Allen was the bright spot, was the guy that was carrying the team on his back. When they needed a play, he made it. When they needed a score, he scored it. Like the guy was running for touchdowns, the guy was throwing for touchdowns, keeping them afloat until they got healthier down the road. So Josh Allen to me is definitely one of the most valuable quarterbacks of this year.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes.
And
No, Patrick Mahomes, really? No. Man, Patrick Mahomes.
How valuable you think
he's
how
got to be
valuable?
valuable to that
Hell
team.
no.
If they don't have Patrick Mahomes, you think Carson Wentz is they've won with Carson Wentz before, but you think if they don't start Patrick Mahomes this week and Carson Wentz is starting for them, you think they still win this week?
I think they still can win. Yes.
And he still has value to that.
Listen, Mahomes isn't the most valuable this year. Look at what he's done.
He's been able to make plays for them.
He's damn near 500 for interception touchdown ratio.
I understand that, but even if you look at the second half of the season, he's corrected things that he's made before
all the time.
He's been able to make opportunities happen just because of his little fake pump fakes, no look passes here that he does.
Not as often as he used to.
So Patrick Mahomes out on that one.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. We're talking about most valuable.
So I got one more I could miss. Well, I can still guess after.
Well, you
that.
still can guess after that. Yeah.
Lamar Jackson.
No.
He's not on there, really?
Nope.
What the hell?
Nope.
What kind of list is this?
Nope.
All right, no.
It's
Lamar
an honest
Jackson.
list.
It's
most valuable quarterback to the team.
Most valuable to their team.
Yep.
Okay, so I did Josh Allen.
You did. You got that right.
Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
Boom, I got one. All right.
Absolutely. Jaden Daniels.
Oh, he's got to be. Especially you look at the game that he had even this week here. Pretty much a flawless game. That game was going back and forth, and forth. Crazy.
Kudos to Michael Penix, by the way,
absolutely.
who's been playing well the last couple of weeks. But Jaden Daniels, honestly, like as a rookie, this is astonishing. This does not happen. I know people are like, oh, well, CJ Stroud did it last year. And, I get it. But this is a rarity. Jaden Daniels, you could argue currently he's the best NFC quarterback in that conference. Mm-hmm. As a rookie, this dude is outperforming everybody. And whether it be with his legs, whether it be with his throwing arm, this dude has carried Washington, who honestly, nobody in their right mind thought the Commanders had a shot to make the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. Nobody. I'm sorry. Even if you're a Commanders fan, you're like, we'll see what we can do, whatever. Jaden Daniels has uplifted this fan base, has carried this Commanders team on his shoulders. And obviously he has weapons like Terry McLaurin. He has guys to go to. Zach Ertz also kind of making a name for himself once again. But Jaden Daniels has stood out from the rest and is definitely one of the most valuable quarterbacks this year because of what he's accomplished with a team that nobody thought was going to do anything.
Mm-hmm. All right. So it's funny. All right. So I've already thrown out the kind of bigger names. All right. So I'm going to look at guys that I guess if they were out, all of a sudden they're not playing, they're done. And they've actually carried their team to success. I'm going to guess Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
Baker Mayfield. Absolutely. Because again, without Baker Mayfield, this Tampa Bay team is nothing.
It's in the dark ages.
It's amazing.
It's in the dark ages.
How we were looking possibly for a flash, only just a flash that after post Tom Brady, that this team was going to just be dismantled and terrible. And then here comes Baker Mayfield jumping in and leading this team, and then also having his star receivers go down for a time and still continue to win and get that running game too and going, but really put the team on his shoulders and having it be their true identity all behind Baker Mayfield, I think is truly amazing. And 4,279 passing yards here with a completion percentage of 71.7%.
Pretty darn good.
Absolutely amazing here. Baker Mayfield. There you go. So there's two of them.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield, like honestly, you think about, and that's why he made the most valuable quarterbacks list, is because think about it for a second. This player was written off by Cleveland. They gave up on the guy, which they're stupid for doing. He finds a home. He went to the Rams for 1 year, played pretty well, not knowing much of the offense, and still did a hell of a job. I think he was there for 1 week and then beat the Raiders that week. He finds a home in Tampa, and he is beloved by everybody there, and rightfully so. You think about a team that was going to end up starting Kyle Rask, who has never took over the starting job, and that's what it could have been like. It could have been a complete abomination, where the team would have to completely rebuild, try to find the next quarterback, but they lucked out. They bring in Baker Mayfield, and they are off to the playoff race right now. They are on their way to win another division title. So,
all right, going off that same line of thought, I'm going with Sam the Man Darnold.
My guy. Yes, he is. He's on the list.
Yes. And I look at it as just the fact that, again, some people still saying it was like, oh, he was deemed going to be the backup to JJ McCarthy and this and this. And again, we talked about it in the offseason, what we've been hearing from training camp. He was looking real good. You predicted that he was going to be a starter anyways. And look how he's doing. His best season of his career. First time eclipsing 4,000 yards, 68 throwing percentage here. And how could he not do well in this Kevin O'Connell offense with the weapons that you have? And even you see the difference from first couple weeks where he's just giving it to, hey, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
I got this guy.
Tunnel vision.
Okay, we're going to double it. We're going to try and stop Justin Jefferson. And we saw it in his last game to where when they played Green Bay, hey, Justin is going to be getting double covered here and there, or people are playing up to it. That actually opened up the different opportunities to TJ Hawkinson or some others here. And he saw that
Jordan
and was
Addison
able to get the ball out and win. So I think, Sam Darnold, that's why I took a guess on that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was one of the more obvious, most valuable quarterbacks this year, because a guy who everybody written off, except for us here at, on the Blitz Nation here with the Blitz boys. We stood up against everybody and said, no, don't be so quick to judge. JJ McCarthy lost the job before his injury. He lost the job to Sam Darnold. We called that. We called that he was not only going to be a starter, but we also called he was going to win a hell of a lot of games for the Vikings and be in the playoff race. And lo and behold, here we stand. A guy who's on pace, a guy who has lifted this Vikings offense and finally has the support behind him, with Kevin O'Connell believing in him, with this offensive staff, the players around him, the teammates, they love this guy. And they are on record, man. I'm telling you right now, this Vikings team is going to be something to watch for as we get into the playoffs.
All right, now it's going to get a little tougher for me. I've got a few different.
It got tougher for me too,
because I want to try and guess where your mind's at with some of this. Because there's a couple quarterbacks here to where it's hit or miss. What you might think,
and honestly, it was very difficult. Now we're down to like 2 quarterbacks left. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I got 2 or 3. Yes.
There's 2 left.
Yep.
It's very difficult to try to decipher who's more valuable to their team than the other. There's other quarterbacks that have had very successful seasons, but that doesn't make them. That doesn't make them the most valuable to their team.
Right.
So it's kind of tricky with these last couple.
I'm gonna get a couple wrong on this, but just let me keep guessing on
Go
these.
for it, man.
How about Jared Goff?
No.
All right, so you're gonna go Justin Herbert.
No,
really, another double loss on that one. Okay. Matthew Stafford.
No.
Really, dude. I don't know where. CJ Stroud.
No.
All right, so I don't know where you're going on any of these then. So I mean, because I don't know what you're guessing on any of these. It can't be honestly, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's not on here.
No, it's not Brock Purdy.
So what are we even looking at?
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray.
Cardinals.
I think you're smoking something.
No, think about it. Most valuable to their team, Kyler Murray. This team would not even be close to competing, to even staying in games. This is a Cardinals team that we thought early on was going to be kind of walked on throughout for the rest of the league to walk on to. We thought their defense was going to be terrible. We thought that Kyler Murray coming back, we weren't really sure what kind of Kyler Murray are we going to see. Is this guy going to be able to uplift this offense with an offensive line that wasn't that great, with a rookie wide receiver out there, Trey McBride in his second year? We didn't know what to expect. This Cardinals team with Kyler Murray, who's leading this team, made them competitive. This team has put up very good games against tough opponents, and Kyler Murray is the guy. Kyler Murray was the guy that's kind of orchestrating this team to keep going. And yes, He's not the best quarterback in the league for sure.
Yeah.
But he's the most valuable quarterback to his team. Absolutely.
I could see that. I guess their team, because again, just like that team has always been, they live and die by Kyler Murray. Whatever they go, which way his wind blows is where it goes. But again, stat line, yeah, like 50-50.
You can't look at stat line.
It's like still, I know it not. Yeah, but still, the team's not even going anywhere. So I mean, what value is there? You know what I mean?
Think about
they
this
played
team
a little better.
For
they were
example.
like they were a nice story for a little bit, but nothing crazy. So I think that's a reach on that one. But
I don't think it's a reach.
It's your list, though. Whatever.
I mean, we're talking about most valuable quarterbacks, not most successful quarterbacks.
No, I get that, but still valuable. I named off a bunch of valuable guys. You're telling me that if you don't have Matthew Stafford on that team, he's injured, they're winning still?
Depends who their quarterback is.
And what the Rams are doing right now, Rams are making that push for that division. Like I called a couple weeks ago when you said that the Cardinals were going to do it. Cardinals haven't done squat. It's been the Rams, and it's all led by Matthew Stafford.
No, I mean, he's got some great weapons to go with. That offensive line is finally healthy. Like, Stafford's a really good quarterback, but is he really the most valuable quarterback to his team?
20 touchdowns, 8 picks. That's a lot better than you did.
Again.
But still,
the way he
that's
is not what this list is about.
Compared to what he's doing to Kyler Murray.
Not even close.
If you put Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford together, Matthew Stafford's a greater quarterback, and then even the value to his team. If they don't have Stafford, they don't win. Kyler Murray, yeah, they might win, but they're going to lose maybe 2 because they're not a very good team.
That's not true at all. You're talking. You're trying to compare stats and stuff. That's not what this is about.
The team
Stafford's a good quarterback, no doubt about it. But Stafford isn't the most valuable to his team.
Kyler Murray gives the Cardinals a chance to win.
If you put Kyler Murray in with the Rams, Kyler Murray does way better.
No, I don't think so. If you
look at the team around them,
if you put Matthew Stafford on the Cardinals, they are a playoff team.
No, not at all.
From what they are right now,
no,
yes,
they're not.
Absolutely. And he's going to be.
You're talking about a guy who's mobile with Kyler Murray, who can get out of trouble
nonstop.
Absolutely not.
To Marvin Harrison Jr.
You're insane.
Those two are going to be in bed together.
You're insane.
It's going to be Calvin Johnson and him back together.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
He would be.
You are crazy,
no way, dude.
Stafford would listen. You put Stafford in with the Cardinals right now, right?
Yes.
With a weaker offensive line, an offensive line that has given up a ton of pressure, and you want this guy to outrun people? No, he's going to get sacked more often. Kyler Murray could get away and still make a play. That's the difference. If you put Kyler Murray with the Rams offensive line with those weapons, with that running back, are you insane, dude? Of course that Rams team will be successful with Kyler Murray there. Like that, if we're going to switch roles like that, like, no way Stafford will be as successful with that team. No way.
Joe, they do have a guy, named James Conner that's also has over 1,000 yards rushing on that team, though, too.
True.
And they also have a guy named Trey McBride. I think, again, Trey McBride's still going to light it up. If you have Marvin Harrison Jr. there, too, as well. Matthew Stafford's going to see that. Handing off to James Conner, you still have a running game. You don't need Kyler Murray for that running game.
You do.
You have a terrible offensive line, like you're saying. But still, they're 7th overall in running. Yeah, 7
because they run all the time.
So they have the ability to run 7th overall in rushing yards, 9th in touchdowns in rushing. They can still run without him. So you have that running game. You have Matthew Stafford. You're going to do better than what you are with Kyler Murray.
No way.
Okay.
No,
right. Well, we're still getting onto the list.
No
all right.
way.
So you got Kyler Murray on your list somehow.
No
all
way.
right. So that's
crazy.
That's 4 that I have right there. There's Kyler Murray. All right. So let me keep whiffing on guesses here on your astronomical list, which is crazy.
Not crazy at all.
A few of people.
Not crazy
There's
at all.
somebody I haven't guessed yet too, but I'm saving him for last.
No, this is about most valuable, not statistics or better quarterback.
A bunch of different people. So, man, Jordan Love?
No, not at all.
Tua?
No.
All right. Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Obviously, Joe Burrow is.
Joe Burrow.
I had to go to I had to call in my lifeline. I go, Joe Burrow's obviously there.
You went way over your limit for guessing.
I did. Because I'm mind blown. You have blown my mind in this list.
Because you're thinking about it in the wrong context.
I got to figure out who's more valuable.
Most valuable quarterback in 2024. I mean, it's not about stats. It's not about
who the best quarterbacks are. Who's
it's about guys that uplift
Drew
their
Lock
teams.
your next most valuable quarterback?
Absolutely not.
Seriously, bro.
Absolutely not. You're being ludicrous right now.
Well, who's the other guy on your list before I get to Joe Burrow?
You just said Joe Burrow.
I did.
That's the end of the list.
No, that's only 5.
That's 6 guys.
No, it isn't. I said Josh Allen.
You said Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, and Joe Burrow.
Did I say Jaden
That's
Daniels?
6.
Oh, yeah, I did say Jaden Daniels, did I? All right, that is 6. You're right. All right, so Joe Burrow. So Joe Burrow was the last one. Huh.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I agree with your list until Kyler Murray then. So it's not
fine.
It's not a terrible list.
No, it's a great list.
Murray's. Kyler Murray is the one that doesn't as a head scratcher for me.
But
Joe Burrow, obviously,
they don't have anything without Kyler Murray. That team isn't even competitive this year without Kyler Murray. It's not.
I would not go.
Absolutely not. Come on,
I
dude.
Would not go
you look at that roster, and you told we told it before the season started. This team wasn't going to be much of anything.
Right.
It wasn't.
Maybe it's the coach.
No, it's not the coach, bro.
Staff. They got a new coach. Kyler Murray's been there, and
if that's what you say, it was the coach, right? So when Kyler Murray was out last year, they didn't do squat.
They had a different coach.
They didn't do squat. Without Kyler Murray, they didn't do squat because he's that important to the team.
And they didn't do squat this season.
They were well more competitive this season than we ever thought they would be. This is a team that we even came close to being in the playoff race. Are you kidding me? That don't make no sense, bro. This is the most valuable quarterback to this team, Kyler Murray.
All right, this could be even the most viral part right here.
This is insane, dude. I cannot believe that you can't see this.
The fact that you think that Kyler Murray is one of the most valuable quarterbacks in the NFL to his team, I think is crazy. So
insane that you think that.
Well, I think it's insane that you think that.
How, dude? We just went over this. This is a roster that was not even expected to win any games. This is a team we wrote off before week 1 even started. Kyler Murray and this team with him coming back healthy. Are you freaking nuts? Like Kyler Murray, this makes all the sense in the world.
Oh man, that's good stuff. Oh man, that is
boy. That escalated quickly.
It did.
I mean, that really got out of hand.
Maybe to quote another Anchorman thing, when in Rome, we'll just move on to the next thing. So yeah, okay, there you go. So there you go. There's your pick 6 most valuable QBs. Even though we disagreed with just Kyler Murray, but everything else I agree with. I get that. And Joe Burrow, we will talk about his greatness in just a second here, because again, there's maybe many questions here what he's been able to do with this team, because that defense hasn't been very good. Yes, you've had Trey Hendrickson, who's been able to lead the league in sacks and stuff like that, but basically been an outlier within that defense who's been giving up points to the way this offense has to keep scoring. It's all sort of like we've seen now with the Lions of late, how that defense has kind of struggled because of injuries, had to keep putting up points to be competitive to win some games. Joe Burrow been able to dish the ball out. And the thing is, maybe the fact that he's been able to have all of his weapons together. You got T. Higgins healthy, so he's there. Jamar Chase, you know what I mean? To be able to dish it out. And when you don't have a strong running game, the air game is going to take over, and what these guys have been able to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, too, is like their run game never did anything until Chase Brown was the starter, named the starter. Like when they finally moved on from Zach Moss, who, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the signing to begin with. I didn't understand why they labeled him as a starter right away. But Chase Brown, as a rookie, had way more potential, had way more going for him. And when he got on the football field and showed all of that on the field, it was all over. Even Bengals fans were like, wow, this dude is amazing. He catches the ball in the backfield. He can run between the tackles, outside, inside, all of that, and make plays. And that's when the offense kind of even opened up even more, is when they finally let Chase Brown run the ball.
Yeah. Yep. So, but Joe Burrow, what he's been able to do, the stat line, you got a stat line there. You had a bunch.
Well, Joe Burrow, honestly, I'm going to say it right now, best quarterback in the NFL. Like he is.
Yeah, 4,641
and
yards,
people, here's the
42
thing.
touchdowns,
Here's
8 INTs. I know I've been enthralled with Josh Allen and what he's been able to do, because you see even in those high weather games, he's got a receiving touchdown. Technically, he's got a running touchdowns. He's got passing touchdowns. But holy crap. Now you actually focus and look at and I know stats aren't always everything and stuff like that. And I get that. And I get even the fact that he has T. Higgins, he has Jamar Chase, but holy crap for this team that is even missing the playoffs right now and has that opportunity to still get in. And what he's doing is lighting it on fire and the again, not turning the ball over. And if you look at attempts, that's the thing too. When a quarterback makes 600 passing attempts and not having more than 10 interceptions, it's astronomical. And the touchdown ratio, 42. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like you also got to take into consideration too the fact that his O-line has been playing less than average. Throughout the course of the season.
They're not very good.
No, less than average. We're talking about less than average, a team throughout the whole year. I understand everybody goes through the injury bug and all that, but teams are overcoming it. Look at the Detroit Lions. They're overcoming injuries like crazy. The Bengals, even when they're healthy, they're not doing their jobs. And then the defense on top of it, like you mentioned before, is absolutely awful. So Joe Burrow and this offense have to either outscore opponents to win games or tie them up every time they get a chance. Not to mention the other key thing for Joe Burrow this year, unlike past years, is that he's being more mobile, using his legs more to create extra time to allow the receivers to get open a little bit longer, so that way he can throw the football down the football field, or he just flat out takes off. This is a guy who isn't seen as a mobile quarterback, but my God, this guy's got wheels. And we don't get to see it too often, but once in a while we are. And this year we definitely are. Guy that has, like you mentioned, most passing yards in the league, most passing touchdowns in the league, 5th in completion percentage with 69.8, leads in attempts, like you said, 606, leads in completed passes, 423, bottom 10 in interceptions with 8. And he has the 3rd highest quarterback rating. How could you not think that this guy is the best right now currently in the NFL? Is beyond me. This dude is absolutely amazing, and it should be all known.
Yeah, I mean, agree.
Do we dare say, because the conversation has been some people that like, oh, well, does Burrow maybe possibly get into the conversation of MVP? And I think it's warranted.
Yeah.
It has to be, right?
It has to be warranted, and you don't always have to be on a winning team, which I get.
That's the bad part right there.
Right, because if you're looking at, it's kind of the counteract of what you're talking about with your Kyler Murray. Because again, the Bengals were expected to kind of try and get back to the playoffs,
right?
Be a playoff team.
Yeah.
They're sitting there at 8-8. The Cardinals 7-9, so they're around 500 still, same type of thing on the outside looking in, and you get overshadowed because of that. The fact that you're not able to lift your team up to higher, expectations or whatever to get in there. But I think that's the surprising thing with Joe Burrow and this team, though, is the fact that he has to keep doing this every year, or probably every year too. He's been on average sacked probably 40 something times this season. I know this year he's already on 44. His second year in the league, sacked 51 times. So, I mean, he's consistently getting hit and sacked, and they've tried to focus on this offensive line to help that out and just had limited success. And, kind of getting overshadowed just because of some of these other teams. Lamar Jackson with Baltimore, 11-5 right there. Josh Allen, 13-3. They're winning. Here they are. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, even too. There they are. Jaden Daniels, 11-5. You're seeing all this. This is the flashiness.
But we're not
getting overshadowed here. And Joe Burrow, as long as he's been healthy, has been MVP status and made that team playoff, ready.
What we're saying is that we're not saying that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson don't deserve to be in the MVP conversation, because they are having great years too. But Joe Burrow's name should come up as well. And that debate has to be had. It really does.
Yeah.
Because when you have all these quarterbacks having great years, now it comes the part where you have to nitpick a little bit. You know, well, Josh Allen runs the ball in for touchdowns more often, and that's why they're winning games. Or, oh, Lamar Jackson, whenever he gets in trouble, he just takes off for 60 yards and gets a first down or scores.
Right.
Like Joe Burrow as a quarterback in this NFL, he looks to throw before any kind of running opportunity. And obviously, with the most attempts, the most completed passes, and the most yards, most touchdowns, that's got to speak volumes as a quarterback. I know it's a stat and not everything is a stat, but dude, this guy plays at just a whole other level. When the times get tough and it's getting down to crunch time, you got a minute left, 2 minutes left. He just seems to make things happen. And people are going to argue and they're going to say, yeah, but he's got T. Higgins and he's got Jamar Chase, and that's why he can get away with some things. Yeah, but he still has to make the throws.
Yeah.
You know, it's so all we're saying is that, you know, Joe Burrow needs to be talked about a little bit more.
Right.
He's definitely got to be the best
it's
quarterback.
Almost so now that people are starting to take notice, because now at 8-8, if they sneak into the playoffs, they're that dark horse team, because they were talking about it again. Now, if Buffalo at this lower seed, if they go in and Cincinnati beats in, Buffalo does not want to see the Bengals the first round going into this playoffs, because they can easily get knocked off just like that.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Playoffs is different too. It's a whole other season. Once teams have ingrained their spots
before
in the playoffs, everybody's play level heightens. Like everybody plays much better. You might even see what the funny thing is you might, if the Bengals make it, you might even see the defense play a little bit better than what we've seen.
Yep.
So it's one of those weird, quirky things in NFL playoffs, but it may in fact happen. We'll see.
Absolutely, Joe. And again, if you guys haven't yet, make sure you guys go to YouTube, search Grumblings Media, and you can find us there along with a bunch of other great shows, Points on the Board. Ours is obviously the best, though, so make sure you look for the Blindside Blitz there. Hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, any of the videos here, the shorts that we're putting out there, we appreciate you guys liking the videos, share them, and then also subscribe off of them. That helps us out. That helps everybody here.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I haven't checked yet, but our the Grumblings Media channel it was very close to 4,000 subscribers. We might have eclipsed it. I haven't checked it, but keep it coming.
For a 30-second video on our Kirk Cousins clip that we did.
Yep, the short there.
38, I think, so far, subs just off of that 30-second clip. So that's like a
huge
sub
success
per second.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for the support. Yeah.
All right. So, Joe, here we go. So now I've seen your list. All right. So is this maybe potentially a question here with mobility as a quarterback? Is it a prerequisite to play quarterback now in the NFL, to have that mobile quarterback? Because looking at your list, yes, you don't have, Lamar Jackson on there or whatever, but Josh Allen, definitely a mobile quarterback, puts his body out there, has a stronger stature, can run the football. Baker Mayfield, this season, especially with not having those weapons, can break out runs. Again, that kind of fake pump gets the defense looking quick.
We saw that this past week too.
Sam Darnold, surprisingly good with his legs too, that people don't pay attention to. Right. He can take off for some big scrambles. Kyler Murray, your big guy that you love, scrambling nonstop. Another kind of with his speed and quickness and his shiftiness that he has, ability to run. And then Jaden Daniels on top of it, lighter in stature and still ability to run now. So is this the new type of quarterback that maybe guys, when they go into the draft, which we'll be talking about in a few weeks here, for some of these teams here that are going to be picking quick in the upper echelon of the draft, do they look for one of these type of mobile quarterbacks? Is this the mold that these guys are looking for?
And it's trending in that direction too. The future of the NFL is looking at, more times than not, mobile guys that can throw the football, that can make all the throws, that can handle that position. And we've seen plenty of examples in the past 5 years in the first round of the drafts, all have deemed to be either mobile quarterbacks or guys that have the ability to escape pressure. and make plays. And because of that, you see all these defenses, they gang up with pass rushers, they stack them up and they get better D lines and they blitz and they create all that pressure. But what negates that is the fact that if you have the ability to get a mobile quarterback, he can either escape, take off for big gains. We've seen it with Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels. Like those are kind of like the prototypes of the quarterback position. And whether they either gain it or even create time before they have to throw the football and make plays that way, that's what it's going towards in the NFL. And you see it every year. Look at the quarterbacks being drafted early. Even this year, there's a lot of talk about Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of talk about Cam Ward as the top 2 quarterbacks to go and get. Cam Ward's mobile. He's not the most mobile guy, but he's mobile. Shedeur Sanders is mobile, not the most, but he can escape. He can get out there. You look at even guys like Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, a guy who his name hasn't been brought up a whole lot, but the dude can flat out run.
Mm-hmm.
You got Dylan Gabriel, another quarterback from Oregon, who maybe he goes in the first round, maybe he goes in the second round, but he's mobile too. So you're seeing every year now that there's more times than not, there's more mobile quarterbacks coming out in the draft. There's more quarterback needy teams that are drafting those players. And the trend is, Jim, is that we're headed that direction. It won't surprise me is if in another 10 years, every quarterback position, it has some mobility of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of, I think, is it baseball players? They talk about 5-tool guy. He's a 5-tool guy. This guy can do this, that. We're away from our Tom Brady / Peyton Manning, just guys that are going to stay in the pocket.
Passer.
The pocket passer, not very fast, not going to get anywhere. I think players, especially youth, as they get into this and they see some of these other players doing that, not only do they want to mimic that, but they add that to their game because it's a positive. It can only be positive. It's not worse. There's also there's a flip side to it. There's a guy that runs too quick.
Yes.
1, 2. Hey, I got to run.
Yep.
Not looking for the guy, but you want to have that as an extra. So we're not looking, hey, this guy runs really great, blah, blah, blah.
He runs a 4.45.
Not everybody, if you're talking about mobility and prerequisite, we're not looking at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is not the mold. I say somebody like I would say again, Brock Purdy or something like that just can be accurate, but then also can scramble, can make some plays running and still have the ability. Baker Mayfield can throw the ball, get some plays downfield and still have the ability to throw, but can make some plays with his legs if you need to and still be able to do that. And that's one thing that you never got out of a Peyton Manning, that you never really got out of a Tom Brady. They looked like a weird gazelle trying to trot down the
you saw them
never really slide right.
You saw them a lot of times, like especially Peyton Manning, like
Eli he never really scrambled really well.
He got pretty smart when he would just take the sack.
Yeah.
Like if he knew it was done, he would just curl up in a ball on the ground and be like, all right, I'm down, and just give up. But he knew he could make it up after that. You know what I mean? Like, so what we're saying is the mold is there. All teams are now looking for a mobile quarterback of the future, but not just because he's mobile. He still has to do the necessities of the job.
Right.
He still has to make all the throws, be accurate, have a strong enough arm, be smart, be able to read defenses. He's still got to do all of the little things, all of the small details to be a starting caliber quarterback. But if they can somehow find the guy that has all those qualities and the ability to escape pressure and be mobile, or maybe they're just gifted and they can run like Lamar or Jaden Daniels. That's the thing, is Jaden Daniels is that. He's the guy that can do everything. And that's what makes him the most dangerous, because it puts so much strain on the defense to account for the quarterback, not just because he can throw the ball, but, oh shit, if we drop in coverage and he escapes the pocket, we're doomed for, he could run for 20 yards. So that is where we're headed. And it's also the reason why we're headed that direction too, is because a lot of teams are getting away with not having stellar offensive lines because they have a guy who can get out of harm's way as a quarterback.
Right.
I think teams still need to get back to getting that star-studded, that China wall, if you will, of an offensive line, impenetrable. That's what's going to help them.
Yeah, because it will get what happened with that game with the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit. No, that was the 49ers and Detroit Lions. Look at how much time Jared Goff had to throw.
Yeah.
Even too. It was ridiculous. He's just sitting there back very far. And even, I started talking about Green Bay and Minnesota and Sam Darnold seemed like he had forever too.
Right.
Just sitting there. Now he can actually get through to his progressions. And that's, I think, part that helped Sam Darnold having a good offensive line. The Jets have had a terrible, we talked about it.
Right.
Jets have had a terrible offensive line since Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez and all this other stuff like that. They drafted Sam Darnold after that. It didn't get any better, and now that he has that, security right there, he can actually go through all of his progression. We saw him actually get to his fourth progression, I think, a few different times in that game, and he had success. And that's when you can see that and you have time to do that, you're going to have success, especially if a lot of these teams are playing zone or whatever. It opens it up to you're eventually going to get somebody open.
And the other part of this whole conversation too is the fact that when teams draft a mobile quarterback or they obtain one, whatever, whether it be free agency, whatever, it kind of escalates the process of getting back to competing because they no longer have to rebuild the whole O-line. They just got to, patch up some holes, and then the quarterback's going to take care of the rest, get out of harm's way. Whereas if you have a pocket passer, you definitely have to make sure to rebuild that O-line to its entirety. Left tackle, right tackle, both guards, a center. You got to make sure they're all locked in. And if you don't, that's why you get sacked a lot, because the guy can't escape. We saw Rodgers. This just keeps going back to the Jets.
Yeah.
But you saw Rodgers kind of running for his life.
It's great that they can be the actual epitome of the worst thing ever.
The example. And he couldn't get out of harm's way because there was so much pressure all the time. So, and this isn't just about the Jets. It's also about other teams that struggle in pass protection. So by getting that mobile quarterback, it also escalates escalates the offensive side of the ball to not have to rush into completely rebuilding that offensive line. It's not the best idea, but teams are utilizing it.
Yep. Absolutely, Joe. All right, talk about now. We've got a few different things going on. Some quarterback signings are out. Just re-signing some signings here. What do you think about Teddy Bridgewater now signs with the Lions? I know there's been some speculation going around that. Like, why now? Teddy's here now. What are you guys doing? You've had other people out there. So what's your take on with the Lions here and Teddy Bridgewater? For me, I'm like, okay. Bridgewater had a little bit of success in the NFL.
It was okay.
He's coming off of, his couch right now to get on there. So, okay, it's something in case maybe there's a disastrous thing that might happen to Jared Goff or whatnot, and call him up from the practice squad. But I don't think that's a major thing like a lot of people are playing it out to be.
No.
What's your take on it?
I think Lions fans are gasping and saying, what's wrong with Jared Goff? What's happening?
Oh, no.
Like, this signing to me is it's not, it's one of these things where it's a big name. They bring him in. But here's the problem with this is if you wanted to shore up the backup quarterback spot behind Jared Goff, why didn't you do it in free agency? Why didn't you do it before we even got to week one? Now you're almost damn near the playoffs. And you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe we should go and pick up Teddy Bridgewater because he's not doing nothing. But Dan Campbell and Teddy Bridgewater have a close relationship. This stems back from years. This stems back from Teddy Bridgewater in college. They've known each other. So I get the relationship aspect and stuff, but bringing in Teddy Bridgewater, who hasn't played football in a few years, who at this point in the season, he not only has to learn the offense, but if it ever got to it, which Lions fans are definitely hoping it never does, but if Goff goes down with injury, you're screwed anyway. we've said this numerous times on this show that once your starter goes down, there is a big drop down from your backup.
Right.
There just is. Can you overcome that? That's a huge challenge. But I think with this signing with Teddy Bridgewater, I don't think it's a smart decision, to be honest with you. And I think it's kind of one of these things where it's just like, why? It makes you question why you would even sign Teddy Bridgewater at this time of the season. It just doesn't make any sense. And for the Lions, he's not going to do anything good for you if Goff goes down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, when you look at this too, I mean, yes, I understand you have Hendon Hooker there as your backup. You're not getting nothing there, but
well, that's the thing.
I would almost even throw this out there. Okay, I understand Teddy Bridgewater. You just, it's a small signing. You're not giving up anything. You're bringing him on there. It's a what if scenario, but I'm almost looking at it as it would have been a good situation. I think if they grabbed Daniel Jones, even though you would have had to try and trade for him. Jared Goff, 30 years old. You're getting him as he is now. I get that. But still, I think if you're able to somehow keep Ben Johnson or whatever and keep this train going and what you have, and have him work with Daniel Jones too, have as your solid backup. I think if Jared Goff goes down, I would still feel confident in like a Daniel Jones in a Ben Johnson offense to keep the train rolling here, as opposed to like say a Teddy Bridgewater or something like that too. And where I think Daniel Jones could have success in this offense,
and that would
having multiple weapons, having a good offensive line, having a running game. You know what I mean?
That would be all well and good. That would be all well and good.
And not giving a lot.
If they were able to get him, but and what's to say the Detroit Lions didn't try. Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones chose to go to Minnesota. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why Minnesota brought him in.
Saw an opportunity.
But my thing is,
fails or whatever, he still has an opportunity.
You're going to go with Teddy Bridgewater now, a guy who hasn't been in football.
Right.
He hasn't. He's got to learn this offense. I'd rather take my chances with Hendon Hooker as my backup quarterback who knows the offense very well, knows the teammates, has chemistry already built in. I'd rather do that.
I'd rather take my chance with the Schenectady Hooker than Teddy Bridgewater.
Not many people know what a Schenectady Hooker is, but I mean, anyways. Jim, I don't know if you're speaking from experience, but no. But bottom line is, I think it's a bad move. I really do. I don't think this is a smart move. It might be just kind of like a flash in the pan type thing, and hopefully it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think it's a non-factor. I mean, some people are trying to speculate and bring different things up about this. Why now kind of thing is like, are we seeing something from Jared Goff or whatever? But I think we're fine. I think it's a little insurance policy possibly. But we'll move on now. Now talking about extensions and other contracts from another quarterback who probably should be sitting on somebody's couch and still collecting his paycheck. Here is Deshaun Watson, who's again, injury prone lately too, season after season since he was suspended by the league and all that whole thing with the massage and everything that we know about, getting the fully guaranteed contract now, and now he gets it reworked for a second time now. So now they add like another 2 years or a year or so void years onto it to try and alleviate some of that dead money cap hit for them, so they could do something with it. But they're still tied to Deshaun Watson, at least for another season here.
Yeah, for a whole other season. That's the thing, is I thought initially when I heard the news about him restructuring his contract, I thought, okay, maybe this is a way that Cleveland can get out from underneath him. Maybe they're going to structure it in a sense where like they could move on and cut him after the season's over with. But no, they just has stringed along. They push the money down the road.
Right.
But in 2025, they can't cut them. They can't, they just can't do it. They're going to be in the hole for $46 million. And that's cap. That goes against their cap. That's not salary cap savings. That's just against them. So it's like, it made me scratch my head a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, I get it. But after 25, they could flat out cut him and no repercussions. They
right.
They don't save any cap space, but they also don't lose any either. You know, it's justified. They can move on from him and be done and try to find the next quarterback again. Is it Dorian Thompson-Robinson? It doesn't really look like it.
Mm-hmm.
Do they re-sign Jameis Winston? I know we've had that conversation on the show before. It's a possibility, maybe as a Band-Aid signing, but this shows me that they are willing to move on from Watson, but it's not going to be right away. And unfortunately for Browns fans, unless Watson makes a dramatic miracle turnaround next year, it looks like they're stuck with him for one more season. They're going to have to grind out another year, hopefully have an opportunity to obtain a quarterback somewhere, whether it be draft, trade, what have you. But it looks like that this team might be doomed for that position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again, if you look at a pre-June cut in trade or whatever, again, the numbers are still there. They're still sitting at a $99 million cap hit. I mean, that is disgusting. In 2026, even so, 172. So if you look at post-June, it gets a lot better for them on that. And that's what they're kind of looking at. That's their best scenario, because after 2025, there is no savings. There is no savings. It's already paid out. And then it's just a smaller cap hit. And that's all the best scenario that they're looking for. So overall, we already know what this is. It's already been a bad deal. It's a bad deal. And now it's just playing out as it is. You know what I mean? So they will eventually move on from him. I don't think he'll probably even play for another team. Who knows? He could potentially. We've seen other teams, Joe Flacco play for teams too after being on the couch and other things, and now Teddy Bridgewater making it into a team. So who knows? Maybe another teteam will bring Deshaun Watson in at one point for
I think
for a
he's
minimal,
still young enough.
to see something.
Yeah.
It's just it's not only that the injuries has really lacked because of killed his production or his ability to do stuff. His production wasn't there anyways when he was even on the field. I feel like he wasn't looking like the Deshaun Watson of old still when he was out there.
Not in totality, but there were spots where there was one season in particular where he went 5-0 the first 5 games, or 5-1, I think his first 6 weeks. Where he showed that, like, okay, well, maybe they got it was 1 year though. It was only one season, and all of a sudden he got hurt again. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, Browns fans must have been losing their minds. Like, we're 5-1 going into the season. You end up going down with another season-ending injury. Dude, when are you going to stay healthy? And I feel like the growing pressure on Deshaun Watson to produce, along with the organization getting tired of waiting for that to happen, that's kind of where this all came to a head now. And they're just like, you know what? We made the decision. The dude got hurt again. He's done for the rest of the year again. We've had it. We're done. We're looking forward to the future. We're moving on from Deshaun Watson. The experiment of Watson is over. And now it's time to look forward. We're trying to move past this. We're going to try to find another quarterback that fits us. Good luck to them. That's all I got to say. I mean, I don't know when they're going to find it, because it is the hardest position to find, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Here we go. We've got a couple more stories here on the docket here before we head out of here. We definitely appreciate you guys checking out the videos, and we give you guys a happy New Year to everybody. Moving forward, 2025 coming up here. We're closing up on the year, so we appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support, and also look forward to some exciting stuff in 2025 moving forward with Grumblings Media. All right, so CJ Stroud again last year came out on the scene, rookie year. He deemed himself as a top 5 quarterback, which is always, I think, a wrong thing to do.
You think that backfired a little bit?
Yeah, you think a little bit. So now looking at him this season, especially with the added weapons that they've had to this team. Yes, they've had a little bit of injuries here and there, but still, not looking like himself in his rookie year now. So the question's got to be there. CJ Stroud, is he having a sophomore slump? Because it kind of looks like, if you look at 2023, his stat line finishing up the year, 64% completion percentage, 4,108 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 INTs. That's the main line here, because if you're looking now turning at this season, 19 touchdowns, 12 INTs, so more picks. And we've seen some of these games that he's played, some of the picks are kind of like, oh, what was he doing there? Like, what, that I don't get it. Like, why did he throw into that? It's stuff he didn't do in season 1. So why now?
I'll tell you right now, because that offensive line is absolutely terrible. Injuries mounted up for that O-line throughout the year. The play overall did not match the play from last season. Joe Mixon coming to the team, that was a positive, but he even has missed games. So it's definitely changed the atmosphere, the trajectory of this offense. Stephon Diggs, everybody knows he was the biggest name that they acquired before the season started, and he was doing great with them early on. Then he ends up getting hurt, done for the rest of the season. But the real thing is the offensive line. And the reason why I say it's not CJ Stroud, it's more the O-line and the pressure that they're giving up, is when you look at the first 6 weeks, they were 5-1. He was playing at a very good level. His completion percentages from weeks 1 and forward, 75, 63, 64, 67, 73, 64.5. Now his passing yards they fluctuated, but that's because they were running the ball with Joe Mixon a lot more, and it was working. His interception to touchdown ratio in those 6 games, he only gave up 4 picks. His touchdowns were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He had 10 touchdowns to his 4 picks. Was having a decent year. Yes, could he dummy down that interception? For sure. But when the pressure's coming, you're trying to make a play. We've seen this happen with quarterbacks before. Sometimes mistakes are made. The rest of the season to present, he's gone below 500. This team has gone below 500. 4 wins, 6 losses, sacked 52 times. 30. That means 30% of the time each week he's getting sacked than not. So it's been an abysmal year for pass protection. We talk about this a lot with quarterbacks, whether you're mobile or not. It does matter. And for CJ Stroud in his sophomore year, that offensive front has just not been holding up.
Yes, I agree. Again, the proof is in the pudding right there, Joe. I mean, all of a sudden it doesn't change overnight. I don't think it's exactly, people saw a lot of game footage and like, we figured out CJ Stroud now.
Right.
This is it. We've foiled his season now.
We got him now.
We got him now. So yeah, that's a big difference here. We've seen it make differences with a lot of different quarterbacks, and he's still young, so he's figuring it out. In Joe Burrow, that's what we've said about Joe Burrow and the success that he's been able to have, because he's kind of dealt with that situation for a while now. And lived the tail to tail now, at least this season right now, and bulked up a little bit so he didn't get injured. Because a lot of those guys, they end up taking so many hits, QB hits, and getting rushed so many different times. It makes a big difference. All right, moving on to this is a bigger story now that I've started to see around, and we're seeing different Reddit lines come up too, conversations pop up. And a lot of people have different opinions out here about this. And I think there's always controversial celebrations, as long as the NFL allows celebrations. Remember when they like all of a sudden start policing celebrations, and all of a sudden it was a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct if you guys celebrated a touchdown at all. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. We want you to be like Barry Sanders, and once you scored a touchdown, hand the ball to the referee and shut up, and then walk off to the sideline. Yes. Yeah. And then they realized, like, that's not right.
Let them have fun.
Let them have some fun, this and this. And then they started to do choreographed dances and stuff like that. But now, I mean, we're seeing some of these.
It's different now.
These wide receivers, you talk about divas now, they're getting worse and worse because they're celebrating like first downs, even catches, not even first downs, just catches. Celebrating that, I caught the ball. Let's do something. Let's do bang, bang, bang. Let's throw some money in there, whatever. And I think it's ridiculous. But this is one of the ones that's catching on now, the quote unquote invisible gun celebration. Joe, what do you think about this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, going to what you were saying before, like celebrations to celebrate every play you make. Like I saw last week a running back get 4 yards and popped up and was like,
yeah.
Dude, you ran for 4 yards. There's nothing impressive like about that. That happens all the time. Like, what are we doing here? I'm so tired of the celebrating simple plays or first downs. Like, really, guys? We got to celebrate every time you get a first down, every time you make some kind of play. Like, I'm all for celebrating when it's a big play. Like, you see like a one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. Yeah, freaking celebrate that. That shit was crazy. But every time, and now we're getting to the point of the invisible gun, where now the celebrations are morphing into, you know, they're mimicking like they're carrying a gun. They lift up their shirt. They're pretending they have a shotgun and like, oh, first down, boom. You know what I mean? Or shooting up, like making a form of a pistol and like, bam, made a play. But I've also seen them do celebrations. I've actually seen a defensive end get a sack, look at the opponent's sideline and point a figurative gun at them and go boom, boom, boom. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Now here's the thing is, I get it. They're adults. We're celebrating. We're watching. There's a lot of adults that watch football, but there's also a lot of youth that watch football. There's a lot of youth that mimics their idols, their celebrations, what they do, what they wear, like all of that.
Especially while they're getting involved in flag football too. And
right. You got, I mean, every level, high school, college, you know, it's all becoming a trend where they're all doing this invisible gun type of celebration. I don't think it's warranted. Like, I'm already crazy over celebrating every good play you make, but now you're involving kind of like a violent gesture where, you know, like, listen, football players, you're not thugs. Stop it. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's so dumb. I'm okay with the, you know, first down marks and you just, you know, help the referee out and direct which way the first down is, like, whatever. But now we're getting into this kind of murky celebration territory where I don't think it's that cool. Like, if you start seeing now younger kids at high school games doing that, they're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
They're going to get reprimanded by the parents. Hell, they might even be suspended by the school. Like, you never know what level it's going to take on, but I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And again, at times I think we could sound maybe like, you know, oh, those would get off my lawn guys. But because we could also be on the same side as, hey, you know, my kid is at school and he was doing fake, you know, cops and robbers guns and he got suspended for some reason. You're like, dude, what the hell? Like, seriously, come on.
Yep.
But that could stem from something like this though, too. And like you said, children or people that even watch this, you know, will mimic off of that. You'll see some of that. You'll see it probably in the flag league that you play in. These guys will see these stars in the NFL do the same thing, and then those guys will still do the same thing, you know, on that same field and aim it at other people. And
well,
people
the only
take
thing
offense to that too. On top of that,
right? The only thing about
there's a lot of what do you call that? Even too a lot of testosterone going on there too. So all of a sudden, dude, aims a deal. I just took you out, and they're like, dude, yeah, okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
So next, so that's a whole nother aspect to it all. But the fact that you're trying to, when you're talking about detrimental to the league, things that you're doing, don't disrupt the shield, blah, blah, blah. This is part of that. I think, you know, when you're allowing celebrations again, you're allowing the fun again.
Right.
Let's do the choreograph. Let's act like we're bowling pins and fall over, or whatever. Let's even go back to the TO. Let's break out a phone. Let's just sign an autograph or whatever you're doing.
I get it.
We're not actively pulling out guns and aiming them, like you said, at sidelines. A shotgun could do motion and bang. But what in your mind says, hey, I got a first down. I'm going to pull out a gun and try and shoot at somebody now.
I'm going to mimic like it. Yeah.
In the same thing of what you just did. The whole boom, first down. That makes sense. Hey, that's the sign they make when you get a first down. Boom, bang. Okay, I get that. First down. What is that? This means something completely different. As far as jumping onto some of the different things that, video games that people play too. I know Fortnite dances are big, and then a lot of people are doing that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
That plays onto the children too, and they understand that, and that relates to them. As far as the guns thing though too, I think is crazy. I think it leads down to a slippery slope, and I don't want to be old man guy because I ain't really like that. But I'm about having freedom to do what you want. But right. I think with people following it, and again, I'm myself being a fan since I was a child, seeing some of these guys do that same thing, people emulate that. You remember, you want to say, hey, when I'm playing ball in the backyard with my friends, score a touchdown, I'm going to do a dance. And you shouldn't have your children saying, this is my dance I choose. Bang, 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 especially with all the school shootings that's going on even right now too, and all that stuff that's getting built up and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's just the wrong route you want to be
right.
on.
The other part of all this too is every time you get an interception, you run down to the end of the field.
The same thing. Let's run all the way down.
And the reason is
game.
The reason is to get in front of the TV camera and all pose.
Well, they do it for their social media too. There's social media guys there. So that's what they're doing it. And that's what I think is messed up too, is how social media is taking over the game sometimes, because I get it. Their links and their Instagram pages are big. They have to get it's the clicks. It's what people are following. That's what they're looking into.
About all of this.
When it starts to confuse the game or taking over some of the game and interrupting the game, I think it's a problem.
Here's my thing about all of this is the fact that the NFL, surprisingly, hasn't come down on this whole so-called invisible gun celebration. One, that's all about, peace and let's have a good time and let's not make anything, ruffle any feathers.
Right.
Two, we're allowing teams to delay the game by running down the end of the field. Now, it's not even close sometimes. They're all the way down on the other end, and they're running all the way on the opposite end and running like 70 yards to go to the camera.
You got an interception.
The NFL league that is so worried about delaying of the game and saving time and moving the game along, you're letting them do all that every time something happens. Come on. Like, let's put it into perspective here. NFL, you got to step in. And I'm not saying get rid of celebrations at all. I like celebrations when they score a touchdown. You know what I mean? When a big play happens, I'm okay with that, celebrating that. But let's make it realistic here. Let's not make it a free-for-all that any player can do whatever the hell they want now, because celebrations are
let's not make it a family photo every single time. I mean, they got together and they lay down and they sit like they just won the chip.
By the way,
like the hockey team.
This is all
when hockey teams win the Stanley Cup. They're doing that same exact pose, right, Joe? Does it look really reminiscent?
Yeah.
It's a team photo, laying down on the ground. Here we are with it. That's what teams do when they win the Stanley Cup. You just got an interception. You did your job. Yeah. Congratulations.
Or you scored a touchdown and everyone's got to, pose for the camera.
I get it. I agree. So maybe we're both old men, get off my lawn thing, but I think it's understandable.
But to a degree, like, that's the problem. I think it's gone way too far. I'm fine with celebrations. I'm okay with it. But when you get to, now we're getting to a gray area where you're still going to allow this to happen. This is still, you're still okay with it? Like this, like,
what you're saying,
at what point do you stop
when you
some of these actions?
Right. When you have things on people's helmets says choose love, this and this and blah, blah, blah.
I always choose love.
Well, that and stop the hate or whatever. On your helmets and things like that, but then all of a sudden you guys got to actively shooting,
pretending to shoot,
bang, 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 bang. I saw one good comment on this too on one of the threads. It's like, why don't we paint the fingers of the receivers orange so that they know that it's just a fake thing?
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, all right, so there you go. We'll see what happens with the invisible gun celebration and stuff. So we got one more topic to get to, and then we're gonna head the hell out of here for this last show of the new year this year.
Make it count.
And then 2025, we're on to it. All right, so here we go. Once again, the beloved Tom Brady, it seems like he gets more stuff. This guy, I tell you, the love affair, even since he retired now, they loved him when he was in the league.
Yeah. Now,
since retirement, it just keeps going. And I think he's going to be that darling throughout until he dies. Like,
really?
I think that, I think just it is. They just with what he accomplished, I think with the NFL or whatever and stuff like that, they fell in love with this guy and they're going to hold on to it. I mean, look at Fox, the website has its own GOAT icon to go to whatever Tom Brady is thinking and doing and anything Tom Brady, a GOAT you can click on. And then it's just Tom.
Oh boy.
So Tom now is only, he's an announcer. He's a part owner. They now want him to start being part of the last vote here on the league awards. Is he going to pick the Pro Bowl guys? He's going to be able to maybe be the guy who picks the quarterback or next quarterback of the Raiders. He wants to be involved with that. The GM, like, what's he going to do next?
He's going to be the next commissioner.
He's going to be the next commissioner. I'm telling you, he will be. It's going to be. It's that they're so in love with Tom Brady. That's it. Commissioner's next. Why stop there? Why stop where you are now, dude?
He's got to get a little older, but yeah, commissioner's definitely got to be in the fights.
It's there. So what do you think so far about even what just on him being, I guess we'll stick to the one part, holding a vote on league-wide awards? Do you think it's right? One, but then even his, like I said, the love affair with Tom Brady and what it's branched into, I think is astronomical.
I mean, the love for Brady has been definitely escalated, to say the least. But as far as him being able to hold a vote for league-wide awards, not everybody gets that honor. And for Tom Brady to have it, but here's the thing: isn't it kind of like one of those things where like it's like an oxymoron? Like Tom Brady holds a vote, but yet he's part owner of the Raiders. He's an announcer that covers NFL teams. Why does he hold a vote? Like, isn't there going to be some kind of bias with this? Like, obviously, he's not going to give a league-wide award to just any Raider player.
Brock Bowers.
You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, to hold a league vote, like, shouldn't you have no bias at all? Like, to me, this thing is wrong. Like, I don't think it's the right thing. Now, Brady has it now, but maybe he already had that vote before he became a part owner. That is something that would need further investigation. But let's say he does. He's had that vote before that happened. Next year, will he still have a vote? He shouldn't. He shouldn't have a vote next year. But this year, maybe he just has it because of timing and whatnot. But going forward, he shouldn't have it. That's just my opinion. Like, if you're going to be a part owner of any team, if you're going to be involved so heavily, not so much broadcasting, because I guess that's more overall. You're calling games, you're seeing all these different teams, so that doesn't really matter that much. But being a part owner to me kind of bothers me a little bit for you to have a vote. And the funny thing is, I'm a Raiders fan. Like, I shouldn't be like that. But to be fair, you can't have any kind of bias at all in a vote. So I feel like that's what he holds right now. But I think going forward, maybe he won't have the vote after this year.
Well, I think even too, didn't the league, correct me if I'm wrong though, too, didn't the league kind of go after Al Davis because he even had a lot of different power within the league too? Not only being an owner, but then even a coach at one time too. And they were really kind of trying to limit what he was doing. But now that Tom Brady has been retired, it seems like he has the ability to do everything. No, and almost unchecked power, at this point.
I don't think it would have anything. Al Davis didn't have like power over the league. It was the fact that they went after Al Davis because he wanted to move whenever he wanted to move the team. And they actually went to court several times over it. You know what I mean? And then anytime Al Davis questioned the league, he went to court for it. Like, so they went after Al Davis because he was a little bit of a maverick against the league and didn't care. So that was that storyline all about. So, but
yeah, again with Brady, I don't think it's going to end. I think they've found their guy.
They'll hold on to the vote.
They're gonna. Who knows? Like I think he's kind of got that untouchable power. I think. I mean,
think so?
I know he's going to be limited. I guess now he's probably going to give up his spot now. So what happens there? Does whatchamacallit get his spot back here for Fox now?
For what? Broadcasting?
For broadcasting?
Well, he's still got to work out that contract.
Yeah, because that's interesting too. I mean, this is different things that we're getting into that we haven't been able to see before. Ownership being involved in broadcasting, but then owning the team, but then also having a training regimen that many players on other different teams are using too, and gaining money from that too as well with TB12.
That's his company.
I know, but I mean, it's just that many hands and so many different pocket or whatever around, I think is very interesting that we didn't see before in this league ever with anybody. You know what I mean?
Well, we're in a different era too, where players are starting to take more of an interest in their businesses outside of the NFL, where TB12 has been around for years, by the way.
Well, I get,
you know what I mean? Even when he was playing, he built up TB12 as a training facility where many players would go to work out. So he's had that business forever. I don't think he's going to really have any kind of power over the league, so to speak, especially with being a part-time owner of the Raiders, until if we joke about him becoming a commissioner, if that was a reality, he would have to give up ownership. He would have to sell his shares and then go for that job. Or if he knew he was going to get it, obviously he would make that move. But for Tom Brady going forward, yes, he's likable. Yes, he's got a lot of savvy business investments, and it's playing out. Like, look at what this guy has done. He didn't make a whole lot of money. He's going to make more money now outside of football than he did inside football, getting paid $15 million a year pretty much throughout his career, and just stayed that low because he wanted the betterment of the team. He wanted the team to spend more money on them to win more championships, which it worked. Now he's in a position where he's cashing in like crazy. Like, this broadcasting gig is something crazy, like $230+ million, to do a broadcasting gig for a few years. And then also he's spent some of that money that he's made with TB12 and from broadcasting, and has bought part of the Raiders, and is going to have what sounds like even more. He's going to have a lot more say than any other part owner has ever had. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see what Brady does from here. And is he maybe vying his way to possibly owning the Raiders at some point later down the stretch? That's something else that could be talked about, because Mark Davis, when his mother passes, what is being told to a lot of people is that as soon as she passes, and she's very old, if that happens, he has to pay taxes on the Raiders to keep ownership.
Oh, wow.
And it is going to be a huge price tag. If he can't afford it, then he has to sell the team. If he can hold on to it somehow, then maybe down the road when Mark goes, there's no other family after that.
Yeah.
Maybe when Mark goes, maybe, just saying, he loves Tom Brady. He's one of those big fans. It's a possibility.
Tom Brady will buy it all with Bitcoin.
He's probably into that too right now.
Yeah, he is. All right. So, I mean, Tom, and like you said, you talked about quarterback decisions in the future. For what I'm hearing, again, people are trying to cross, lines and connect the dots that Mike Vrabel could possibly be the head coach of the Raiders coming up too, because
got the relationship there
with Tom Brady. Again, he has that influence. So he is flexing his influence all over the league. And that's what I mean. How far does it go? And we'll see. I think only the future will tell here.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a blast. We went a little bit longer than we
did, but
anticipated.
we're actually just under 2 hours. So congratulations.
Thanks for tuning in. Happy New Year to everybody. Stay safe. Get home safe. Do us a huge favor. Help us grow this channel. We're nearly 4,000, if not past 4,000 by now. Head over to Grumblings Media on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up as well. Share it. Comment down below. We're here to be interactive. And you can also give us a follow on rumble.com and take us on the go wherever you go with any podcast imaginable: Apple, Google, Spotify, and Pandora. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next one.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.